Yes, people. Big up to you all. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to need a little bit of help from the boys today. My voice is not good, and it's not through screaming because Arsenal won. It's quite the opposite. I'm not feeling too well, under the weather a bit. Got Judges with me, got Henry with me, got Dan with me, and we got Roms as well. Flawless should be joining us at some point as well. No, Martin today. He's busy. Oh, what a weekend of football. Roms is sitting there chilling because he didn't get to play. And they just got to sit and watch everybody crumble. It was most beautiful for a Liverpool fan. How Liverpool can have a good weekend without even playing is beyond me. It has happened. Chelsea and Spurs we're going to start on. We're going to touch on Arsenal, get Rom's thoughts as well because I haven't got Rom's for long. Let's start with you, Roms, because you looked at it. It's probably quite a relaxing weekend. Want to get your thoughts on whether you actually wanted to get the game, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing that it was called off, first of all, and then look towards what you saw from Arsenal and Chelsea and the Spurs game, because right now, Manchester City are the ones that are just dropping away, and it's looking like Chelsea are the ones that are now saying hello to you. Mad weekend yet again, Roms.
Do you know what? From a Liverpool standpoint, there's pros and cons, because when it first we kind of knew the night before. I've got a friend that lives up in Liverpool, and he said, you know, the actual game could go ahead, but it's everyone getting to the game, and health and safety is paramount. But I was quite annoyed because I'm of the idea of I'd rather points on the board instead of games in hand. I don't like that, especially against Everton. It's probably going to be rescheduled, the evening game. I'd rather play them at the crack of dawn than an evening game under the lights. But the only positive is Jota's probably back. Konate's probably back. Alisson's probably back. Most of our injuries should be back, because they're saying, I think February or April. God forbid it's April in the title run. We've already got you lot, and we've already got Arsenal and Chelsea in that running as it is, and I think Brighton away. But they're saying February or April. But for me, it's more of a con because I wanted to play. And I think had we played, obviously this weekend would even been even better for us, because with you, I did not expect Arsenal to drop points, by the way, at all. City, I actually predicted a draw, so they're just not with it at the moment. But I wasn't expecting an Arsenal draw. But I suppose it was a good weekend in the end, because without kicking a ball, like you said, Potts, both of our title rivals, and actually one of them in Chelsea now, and Dan, you can't run away from it. But two out of our three other title rivals have now dropped points. And if we can now beat Everton, assuming we win the rest of our games, which will be tough, we can make it 9 points again. And this is why I'm hoping it's earlier than later. I'd rather it be in February. But it's a good weekend for us. There's no shying away from it. Very good weekend for us. And I just hope by the time we play... Go on.
Can I say, it's I'm telling you, at Liverpool, not that I'm saying that they're lucky. That they had the unbelievably lucky that game's called off. And I'll tell you why, because that wind and the rain and everything, a little bit of a leveller, and a team like Everton that thrive on things like that, you wouldn't have been out of play as much football as you like. That game would have suited Everton a lot more than it did Liverpool yesterday. On Saturday, if it'd been cooler. So I think like Liverpool have had a win everything that they wanted to on that day, because I'm not saying it making no excuses for the conditions yesterday. It was awful conditions to play football for a footballing side. If you're like a Fulham side yesterday that can defend and shut in and all that, those conditions were perfect. And Everton would have done the same the day before. So I think Liverpool will be very, very pleased that game was called off.
Do you know what, Judges, though? I called my friend at the crack of dawn on Saturday. He lives near Stanley Park, so literally kind of in between both Goodison and Anfield. And he said, if I'm being honest with you, this game could go ahead. I think they were worrying about people travelling from everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that was the main concern, because he said it's not that windy, that this game could go ahead. But you're right. I think it's a stroke of luck. And you know what? In title races, we've seen it. It's little things like this that kind of go your way, So I agree with you. I do agree with you.
Yeah, listen, I was... I don't want to say I was annoyed that Liverpool's game was a bit extreme, but I was a bit like roll my eyes, because you just knew what was going to happen. That if there was anything to go this weekend, it would work out the way that it did. But let's move to you, Dan, because Cole Palmer, we've got to start having talks about this kid now, man. Like, I know it was 2 penalties and all that, but Henry said before we went live, when you've got the nuts on you to do what you do with that second penalty, man, and just kill the game off, you're a decent player, man. That is absolutely insane. And before I come to Spurs, I want to talk a little bit about Chelsea because I didn't see the whole game because I was travelling back from Fulham. All I did know was that you were playing in the second half, just completely turned it on. And I think it had everything, that game, really. There was red cards that could have been, there was yellow cards that could have been, there was penalties, there was Tottenham losing their heads, there was Chelsea fans giving it, there was Tottenham meltdowns, there was Ange losing his head again. Um, Unbelievable game of football. 4-3. I'd never had that. I actually had Chelsea winning this one comfortably. And when I saw at the Tube with my dad, I was like, Spurs are being Spurs here and winning 2-0. My dad was like, you're joking. I was like, nah, look. And then lo and behold, they still throw it away. I have to say, big up, big friend of mine. You all know him, Tobes. Like, I actually genuinely felt sorry for Tobes for the first time in my life yesterday at the Big Six watch along. Like, I genuinely felt for him. Like, the way that it was a complete and utter head loss. Not because he's a Spurs fan, because I can't stand Spurs, right? But I genuinely love him. And I was just like, I texted him and I was like, bro, I genuinely felt your head loss, like the way he completely lost his head. Henry will come to in a minute, completely lost his as well.
And he got Matisse showing his nipples too.
Matisse getting his titties out. I mean, what was happening there, by the way? Honestly, I mean, that is an OnlyFans account waiting to happen, isn't it? That, I mean, what is going on
He's got a pair to be
He's
proud
got a
of.
serious pair. I mean, that is
got a
that is
solid
quite
B cup,
unbelievable. He is I reckon that's a C cup. I mean, unbelievable. Look, Dan, talk to me, man. Chelsea and Parma, and the big question: you must now be in a title race here. You must. Now start
I
to
thought you
believe.
were going to say, is he better than Saka?
Oh God, no, we'll forget that.
I'm winding you up.
Oh God.
No, do you know what? Chelsea didn't start well yesterday. Tottenham obviously come out the blocks a lot sharper, a lot fitter, a lot just way more up for that game than I think Chelsea were. And I don't know whether that game sort of intimidated a couple of Chelsea players to begin with, but ultimately Cucurella, I don't know what's gone on there with his boots. I don't know if you saw it, Dan, in the end, but he couldn't stand up. It was just he swapped him. He didn't fall over again, but yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. I actually think Chelsea's first goal that they conceded weren't great. The second goal, I actually think Kulusevski is a really good finish. I thought.
Can I just say quickly, Dan, on that boots changing thing? Do you think that was a load of bollocks in the end? And he thought, I'm going to have to just go and pretend that these boots are naff. Do you think he actually did slip over, genuinely had the wrong boots on? Because that is a shambles if that is the truth.
Well, on Match of the Day, they said it was studs for studs, but I don't know what it was. But there was definitely something because he didn't slip over again. And in the other pair, he just couldn't stand up. And then he chucked him in the bin. And then he's deleted that post now. So I actually don't know. But whatever it was, I mean, if he slipped once, I might be like, oh, yeah, okay, it was just an accident. But if he slips twice, it just makes me think that there was actually an issue with his boots, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Anyway, like the way Chelsea got back into that game, I just never really felt like Tottenham were going to win it. I know they were 2-0 up, but I just sat there like, actually, I feel like we're going to get back on top of this game. Then Sancho was absolutely unbelievable in the first half. Second half, it continued. He obviously got us to 2-1. And then I just felt like as soon as the second half, Tottenham came out, they looked flat. Chelsea had 80% possession for the first 10 minutes of the second half. And as soon as we got that equaliser, I just felt like we'd go on and win it. I didn't expect us to concede the third, but it was pretty comfortable to be fair in that second half.
Yeah, it was, man. And Henry, your club shit, bruv. What's going on, man?
Let me just, because I'm probably going to have a bit of a rant. I am going to try and keep composure here because last night I actually nearly had a row with the missus over that game, and my head was hot. Normally I have a sandwich and chill out, but I actually wanted to go to bed yesterday at 6:30 in the evening and just wake up tomorrow or wake up today. But that game, right? I said after the Arsenal game, excuse me, when we lost 1-0, you got your famous set piece goal. I said, this manager's done. He's finished. Everyone was like, oh, you're negative. Everyone was laughing at me. You've got to back him. You've got to trust the process. It will come good. And everyone laughed at me. And no, I'm going to take a sentence out of Nigel Farage here. Well, everyone laughed. Well, they're not fucking laughing now, are they? Because this manager is finished. And it's not just this manager. We'll get to the ownership in a minute because they are nothing short of a disgrace. Bought us a fantastic stadium, right? But the money we're buying for players, the recruitment has been diabolical. But let's look on yesterday's game, right? I said to Dan and I said to Don, we're going to lose that game comfortably. After the Bournemouth game, the writing was on the wall. Absolutely disastrous, that Bournemouth game. And it's not the first time this season we have had an absolute pasting. Right, 1-0 flatters us. If anyone watched that Bournemouth game, they should have had a minimum of 3 goals. It was a training session. In the final third, it was shooting practice. We don't have a defence. So there can't be no excuses going into the Chelsea game. How the fuck do you get your first team centre-backs back and they both get injured again? What if that doesn't describe this football club, I don't know what does. You rush your first team centre-backs, you take a huge gamble, and when it doesn't work out, you should be criticised. If any Spurs fan right now can back this manager, then I have no idea what you're watching. We go 2-0 up, right? That was our best 11 we had available, right? You had Romero, you had Van der Ven, you had your doggy, by the way. Honestly, Bissouma just needs to get out of this football club. But your doggy has been absolutely skinned 5 or 6 times this season. We go 2-0 up. The first 12 minutes, we were on fire. But Dominic Solanke's finish is a joke. Kulusevski does really well. I was like, what is happening here? Like, I thought it was going to be a Chelsea all over again. It got to the 25th minute and Lavia started turning out from the press, playing through the press. They got their goal from Jadon Sancho. And then what happens? We completely capitulate. We have lost more games this season than any other team other than the bottom 3. Iriola, since he's been the Bournemouth manager, since June 2023, has collected more points. Bournemouth, Fulham, and Brentford have better managers than us. Honestly, mate, it's a joke. They get the goal. Jadon Sancho is a fantastic finish. The decision-making from Bissouma and Sarr, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but I would have, I don't even know what you can't obviously you sack a player on the spot, but Bissouma should have been fined a week's wages for yesterday. That display from him was nothing short of a disgrace. It's schoolboy defending. You're $100,000 a week Premier League midfielder and you're diving in. And Sarr as well. Cole Palmer's going to the corner flag and you take him out. And then bowling ball nuts, because his nuts are made of fucking steel, just dinks it down the middle. Mate, the football club's a joke. Look at our form. Couldn't beat Fulham. Fulham should have beat us. Roma turned up. Kone absolutely dicked us in midfield. Bournemouth should have been 3 or 4. Galatasaray, Victor Osimhen had 7 shots. When is this manager going to learn? We're not in the SPL, mate. You're not managing Scotland. You're not managing in Japan. Every game is a tough fixture. And we are just opening our legs, waiting to be shafted. Right, it's absolutely disastrous. And honestly, I tell you now, we will not beat Southampton on Sunday. And if we can't beat bottom of the league, then honestly, all our fans coming out, you've got to back this manager. He's a good manager. Any manager that's tuning up against Chelsea should go to a more pragmatic approach and then hit them on a counter. What do? You've got so much space out in that defensive line, you could build a fucking house, right? It's absolutely shambles. I don't know if you saw the picture that's going around. It's Radu Dragusin, 6 in midfield, right? And then 2 up top. What the fuck is that? And this has been happening. 2-0 up against Brighton, completely capitulate, lose 3-2. 2-0 up at Chelsea, completely capitulate. But the manager's got to be sacked because the results are not good enough. We should not be sitting 11th in the Premier League. That is unacceptable to be 5 points below Fulham, to be below Bournemouth. But when you actually deep it, Fulham and Bournemouth have got better front threes than us. Fulham and Bournemouth are more organised than us. Yeah. And when Daniel Levy sacks the manager, because he's going to, mark my words, in the next 2 weeks, I said after the Arsenal game, this manager won't make Christmas. That prediction's coming true. We lose to Rangers. They hate Postecoglou, by the way, as an ex-Celtic manager. They absolutely hate him, right? We're going up to the Ibrox in a must-win game. Does anyone on this panel or watching think we're going to beat Rangers away? Because if you do, I don't know what you've been smoking, whatever troops you're smoking, because you are off your head, mate. We are going to get pumped. We're going to get absolutely pumped by them, right? And What happens now? Okay, let's say we bring Thomas Frank in or Silva or Iriola. All right, we get a good bounce. We get into the January window and we need to go out and buy a centre-back. Romero needs to get out of this football club now. I've had enough of you. See you later. He's coming out last night retweeting something about if Ange gets sacked, he wants to leave. You're on 150 grand a week, mate. You're the vice captain and you're doing Cruyff turns in your own penalty area. And then you get injured doing it. The guy is an absolute disgrace. The only defender at this football club who can actually defend is Van de Ven. And Postecoglou's tactics, he's going to be retired before he's 30. His hamstrings are made of glass. Paper mache legs. But take nothing away from Chelsea. They're 2-0 down at their rivals' ground. And they just go, right, lads, it's Tottenham. Let's just start playing football. Cole Palmer should have had 4 or 5 goals yesterday. Pedro Neto had your doggy on skates. Lavia was absolutely unreal. Caicedo, plays into plays right back. They dominate the midfield. It's a joke. Chelsea should have won that game 6 or 7-3. 3 goals flatters us. The only reason we got the Son goal is because Chelsea took their foot off the gas. We are an awful football inside. We've got 4 clean sheets in 46. 46 games. 4 clean sheets. And I'm sorry, you can't defend that. That is, we're in relegation form. We've lost 7 of 15 games. We've lost 8 of our last 12 away games. We spent £150 million on Brennan Johnson, Solanke and Odebear. Solanke's the only one who can come off that pitch yesterday, and I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's the only one that come off that pitch yesterday with his head held high. His hold-up play was magnificent. His finish was great. But it's Son. Right, Son's going to end up playing to this club until he's 48 because Daniel Levy's going to get every pound out of that South Korean market that he can. And we've already signed an under-21 South Korean player that's going to come in January. This cash machine, Levy isn't going anywhere. £1.3 million a match day that club generates. No other football club in world football can compete with the amount of money they generate. Chelsea take 850 grand. We're doing nearly 600 grand more. Chelsea have dropped £1 billion. They were called £1 billion bottle jobs. Who's laughing at them now, eh? Is anyone laughing at Chelsea? They've got a functioning midfield. They've got one of the most informed players in Europe. They've got a couple of bozos at the back. You bring a number 9 and a ball playing centre back into Chelsea. They're not far off Liverpool. They're probably
and a goalkeeper. A
goalkeeper, a ball playing centre back, and a number. And I know you can say that about a lot of teams. Arsenal need a number 9, whatever. But Chelsea will actually go out and do it because their manager is like they believe in their manager. Mate, you're 2-0 down, and you go and score 4. Now I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys think, but if this manager is here come Thursday, I should advise anyone, if you are a betting man, if you can't bet for religious reasons, whatever, but if you are a betting man, I advise that you strongly put a few quid on Rangers because we will get pumped. Mark my words. Anyway, my blood pressure is through the roof. This football club's a disgrace. And what a fucking great start to the week, hey?
An epic rant, man. It's an epic rant. And, before I bring Roms and Lee in, I think if you sack Ange and you bring someone in, the same things will happen. So I just think you just need to fold the football club, right? Just get rid of the football club.
I'm not sure, Dan.
And Henry's blood pressure will be all right. Go on, judges. It's tongue in cheek.
I'm not so sure. If they bring in someone, it'd be the same. I think they've got to have someone to come in and just be a little bit sensible with it. For me, Ange now, if they lose to Southampton, that's him gone. But it's so stubborn. Just change your tactics, mate. Just that's all you got to do. Tottenham have got some decent players. They score. They're 2-0 up. They could have been 3 or 4-0 up at that stage, and then they just capitulate because they just don't manage the game properly. They're too wide open. They're too open, and someone's just got to come in and just say, do you know what? I'm going to be attacking. But there's also going to be times when I'm not going to be. And you know what? It's no disgrace. It's no disgrace if you're playing against Chelsea or you're playing against one of the big boys to change your tactics. You can slag off Man United as much as you want, but when they come down to the Emirates, they knew that if they played like toe-to-toe with us, they were going to get smacked. So what did they do? They took all their tried to defend it. All right, it didn't work. Then they go and play Nottingham Forest. Okay, we're going to open up against these. And then they get smashed. So you've got to know horses for courses. And at the end of it, like you're 2-0 up against Chelsea, you've got to manage that a lot better. In saying that, is it his fault that Basuma has a moment of madness? What is he doing for that penalty? Like, you know, and also you can go on as much as you want about things, Henry, and I get all of that. Like, if the officials and VAR are doing their jobs, which they're supposed to be doing, Chelsea are down to 10 men with you being 2-1 up. Different game.
We could have had a man sent off as well, though.
Yes, you should have. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have. So it could have been a thing, but I don't know if that's the case. Both players should have got sent off. You've got VAR getting and trying to make excuses for it and all that. Like, that's not the first time that Caicedo's done a tackle like that. It's not the first time, and he keeps getting away with it. So he'll continue to keep doing it until until someone sorts it out. That is a sending off in the current climax of football. No ifs, no buts, no whatever. I've seen tackles go back. I think the Liverpool-Tottenham game was one where a Liverpool player got sent off.
Last season. Yeah.
VAR, like, you know what I mean? There's no difference. And that's that at the end of the day is how it is. But it did, but you know, to concede 4 goals at home against Chelsea, it can happen, but it continually keeps happening against Chelsea. Like, you know, last season it was a different way of it all. And I'm sorry, when you're playing Chelsea and you're playing Arsenal, if you know, if those teams are coming to your ground and getting results year in, year out, something's not right. You've got, you know, and Chelsea have gone there far too many times in my book and rolled Tottenham over, and they've done it again.
The thing is, quickly, Lee, the thing is, right, Sancho and Kulusevski's goals are actually decent. The rest of them were just absolute clown moments.
Well, yeah, just
both sides. He's ice skating on the floor from Kukurea. He got penalties being flying in, challenges going in left, right, and centre. Maddison makes, like, let's be real, Chelsea's like backline looked rather stupid by just waltzing past them right at the end. It was just like a mess, really, like from both teams defensively.
Unbelievable. And you have a look at the goalkeeper for the first one. What is he doing? What is he doing? Thank you for the goal.
He dived before he'd even touched the ball.
It's just incredibly poor.
Have you seen the still image? Like, I'll try and send it into the WhatsApp.
Yeah, send it into the WhatsApp. It's horrendous, like, you know. But you know, Sarro, I think's decent. You know, I'm not saying he's great. When he first got into the Spurs team, he looked like he was decent. You don't matter if you're a manager and you're under pressure. You know, he's picking these players. I get that lot, but that is just a ridiculous decision and thing to do. And at the end of the day, look, the writing's on the wall for Ange now. Let's be honest. You know, it's a matter. It's if rather than when rather than if. Like, he's a dead man walking now. You can tell that. Like, you know, the fans are arguing with him and all that.
There's problems above him, though, Lee. Above Ange.
Well, listen, you know my thoughts on all this and that. Like, someone turned around and said, "Oh, you know, on Twitter to me yesterday, you want Ange to stay and you want Levy to stay because it makes us irrelevant." Like, you know what I mean? Well, he wasn't relevant when they was there. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, let's be honest about it. Like, you know, Tottenham have never challenged for a title in my life, apart from once in 1984, might have been 85, when they took Everton to about March time. That they won a couple of cups and a European trophy in the 80s when they was that. But other than that, they've been touting with the.
We've always been a cup team. We've always been a team.
Yeah, they've always done well in the cup. 91 was the last time they won the FA Cup.
Even that, though, Lee. I'm sorry, but the amount of money that we have to pay for a season ticket.
Can't argue on that. Cannot argue on
and it's going up by 5%. It's going to be £1,400.
That is a problem, and I will say it, like, you know what I mean. Now Spurs,
money grabbing bastards.
It's a wonderful stadium. It's a wonderful stadium. It's fantastic for the American football and the go-karting, but Tottenham for football, it's not. It's never has been. You know what I mean? Spurs have never been what everybody thinks that Tottenham should be, and that's what it does make me laugh. They're expected to be challenged. What I sit with my Spurs. What do you expect Spurs to be? What do you expect? And they're going. One of my Spurs mates going, I want us to win the title. But you've been like that for. What is the real? They ever go at West Ham
I'll
fans?
answer that in a very, 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 very quickly. Tottenham in my lifetime, we've been in Champions League finals. Obviously, Roms knows that better than anyone. We've been in top 4 races. We've been in cup finals. What I would like the football club to do is come out with an announcement and actually tell the fans what the goal of the football club is. Right? We operate similarly to FSG.
Yeah,
But
I was going to say that.
Look at the difference between the people at the top have hired footballing brains, Hughes, Edwards. We have got Ryan Mason as our set piece coach. Now, if that doesn't explain to you,
Oi, none of that.
no,
Yeah,
look at
Lee
the
loves
difference
Ryan.
between
Lee
your
loves
set piece
Ryan.
coach. You get a corner, everyone shits themselves. We're like, nah, just give them a corner, we'll defend it and counter and score. If Daniel Levy is to succeed and Tottenham are to get back to competing or winning silverware, we need to hire someone who's got a footballing brain, a Luis Campos, a Ralph Ragnick, someone at the top who can work within a budget and produce hidden gems. We go out there, Levy spends a lot of money. We've done 1.5 billion since the Premier League began. We're only 231 million behind Man United. We spend a lot of money. We open up a catalogue though, right? And the first thing we see, we buy. Brandon Johnson example, other than back post tap-ins, that guy's wide play stinks. As a winger, he stinks. He's a back post tap-in. Right, Timo Werner, the less said about him, the better. Odegaard, we went to Burnley and went, there's 30 million for a player that weren't even getting a game. Bissouma, right? No disrespect to Brighton, but he got to move to a more club with more eyes on him. He's folded like a deck chair under 3 managers. Sarr, right? We shouldn't be playing. We shouldn't have to rely on Bergvall and Archie Gray off the bench. You know, the way that Arnie Scott integrates young players, right, is when the team are on a high. Right? Conor Bradley comes in for Trent when a player's injured. Enzo Maresca, the way he grilled Madueke the other day, on a high. The best time to do it. We're bringing in Archie Gray when we are getting spit roasted, opened up like a tin of beans. Right? We are in the fetal position, getting battered, and Archie Gray's the blanket to cover us.
Yeah, Henry, Arsenal done that with Saka and that when we was.
Yeah, and you either adapt or you perish. And Saka, Ranieri, top talents, but the best talent we've got is Mikey Moore, and he's going to be permanently injured in about 5 years because he's going to have to play every game.
Henry,
you can't argue the fact with Spurs, right? It's not the owner's fault that you go to Manchester City, by the way, that have lost no games in 57 games, right? Right. And you go there and you pump them 4-0, right? You've not won a game since. That is not on the owners, in my opinion. It's not. That is down to the management and the players because it's all up in the head. Because if you can go to Man City and do what you do there, you have got to back it up. And that's not a problem. Everybody goes, listen, I'm not having a go. I'm sticking up for it. We have it at Arsenal. If Arsenal don't win a game, it's the owner's fault. We get it. You know, they've not backed the manager and all that. Like sometimes you have to look at what it is. Sometimes the players maybe not good enough to get you where you want to go, or the manager's making mistakes. But this is the problem. Like, you know, with Tottenham at this moment, you know, they're capable of beating anybody. On their day,
we're also capable of losing to anybody. That's the problem.
That's it. Is that on the owners? I don't think so. I think that's on the management and the players, and that's the problem.
Do you know what, Lee? You said something that was spot on earlier. Ange isn't at fault for stupidity from Bissouma and Sarr. Spurs fans will be quick to blame Ange, and I get that, but they're on the players. Moments like that on the players. And Henry, you're one of the most realistic Spurs fans I speak to. You speak to the optimists, and their first excuse is we've got so many players injured. But then I look at the Palace game where you had pretty much most of your starting 11. You give them their first win of the season. Look at the Ipswich game. I think you had more injuries, but you still had enough to beat them. You still had key players. You go and lose to them. So it's like, even when you've had your strongest 11s against the minnows, against the better team, bar yesterday, you normally do all right. That's been the narrative this season. But against the smaller teams, even with your better players, and this is just an indictment of how bad Spurs are at the moment. And I think another thing was, and you highlighted it earlier, Henry. I know Van der Ven and Romero are your best partnership, your most experienced partnership, but you'll rather short-term pain for long-term gain and not the other way around. Because if they're not 100% fit, I know Chelsea are arch rivals, but you can't play them because now you've got them injured in the most hectic period of the season. It makes no sense. Well, I think
that's on the manager, Roms.
Yeah,
he
because
gambled yesterday and it didn't work out. And
it's
now we've
crazy.
got to pay the consequence.
It's crazy because I read something yesterday. I think if you're in the Carabao Cup and Europe, so that would mean Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, and United. Our 4 clubs, I think, play 9 or 10 games in December alone.
We've all got 9.
Yeah, we've all got 9. So it's crazy. For me, that was just Spursy. You just have to call it out as it is. Your 2 best centre-back pairing, where you probably need them for this month. You play them against your arch rivals. They're not 100% fit. They both come off before the 70th, 80th minute. It was crazy. Like, I'm not going to lie, and I think most of us will agree, when Spurs were 2-0 up, Dan, you know I'm a betting man. I put a bit of money on Chelsea to win because I just knew they would be. Even if you'd watched the game, I think Spurs started well in terms of your clinical. I think Solanke's finish was excellent. So was Kulusevski's. But then the game, Chelsea were just dominating in every way possible. One thing I do disagree with what you say, Henry, though, and I think Dan might agree with me. I actually think Udogie did well against Neto first half. I think Neto was getting the ball and he was showing him down the line. I think whenever it got to Neto, he was quite bright, but I think Udogie did well. His second half, I think...
But that's the problem. It's always... I don't know if you watched the Bournemouth game. The first half, Udogie was good. Then Kluivert, absolutely crucial. It's like we've always been a side where we look like 2 completely different teams in 2 games of football. We were like this under Conte. I think we were down something like 18 of 38 Premier League games in the first half, but then won so many of those games in the second half. Now, you can talk about the players not being good enough, etc., etc. But Ange, at some point in his career, has got to have a more of a pragmatic approach in some games. We can't turn up. Okay, fair enough. You beat Man City 4-0. That's a freak result. That is probably our best away performance in the Premier League era. To beat the champions in their backyard, who have not lost in 55 games or whatever it is an unbelievable performance. But my argument is, if the players can get up for playing the champions and be 2-0 up against Chelsea and get up for a North London derby, that's great. But that's only 12 of your 38 games playing the Big Six. It's the other games. We've look at our record against the bottom 3 this season. We drew at the King Power. We should have been 4-0 up in 20 minutes. We've lost to Bournemouth. We drew to Fulham at home. That's not on Levy. You can't. You can slate Levy for the core group of players are not good enough, but there's still enough resources there to beat bloody Ipswich and Palace.
Can I ask, Henry? I'm not being facetious or taking a mickey when I say
Lee, just told you, Lee, I got to shoot off.
No worries. I love chatting.
Henry, I'll pray for you, but just keep him until the 22nd. Keep him until the 22nd because we got you then. Just sack him after that game. But big up the panel, big up the chat, smash the lads. Big up.
Yeah, see you soon, man.
We don't want Liverpool fans on anyway like this man.
Get Liverpool out of it. Listen, people, do me a favour. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following all these guys as well, man. Big up, big on.
Like with Spurs, does this all stem from the Man City game? You know what I mean? When there's Spurs fans, and I get it. I'm not having a go when I say this. I understand it all. I really do. That you didn't want Arsenal to win the league. I get all of that, right? But what it done was it knocked you out of the Champions League race, and all of a sudden. Yeah, we're happy to go into the Europa League because we didn't want Arsenal to win the league. And I get all of that. I'm not knocking that. But then all of a sudden, like, well, that's it. We're happy with that. But then, no, leave it. The ball ain't paying the money and all that. That not getting into the Champions League cost Tottenham a lot of money. financially.
Yeah, of course it has.
And it's also cost you maybe not getting the player that a Champions League player. I don't know on that part of it, But when you're doing that, and now you're saying, oh, it's not acceptable to do this and do that. What does it stem from that a little bit or not? I don't know.
It does. It doesn't help when you walk into the South Stand and you've got that absolute prat, whatever his name is, voice of Spurs singing, "I'm City till July." We're a football club, mate.
Yeah, things like that. I get. It's not right. It's not. It's not right. It's not putting you in. It's lining you up for what you're getting now, sort of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't be singing about other teams and all that.
Of course you can't. What doesn't help, Lee, is that when we have been in the Champions League, it comes back to that. You haven't got a footballing person up the top. Levy's saying, right, these are the funds that are going to be allocated for players this summer, right? Then we've got, what's the saying? Square pegs for round holes. We're buying players that are just not good enough. That's not on where Levy gets some of the stick is the fact that we haven't won anything in so long. But at the same time, he's given directors of footballs, coaches, scouts. I think we've got the third biggest scouting network in the country. I think it's only Arsenal.
Henry, your fan base are a disgrace, by the way. When
of course
you were singing in your stadium the other day, what was it, Dan, that they were singing? We beat the champions without Romero. Wake me up before you go. We beat the champions without Romero.
That is a disgrace in itself. I'm not kidding you. That
was the song that was singing.
I've not been to a game this season because
that's the best song I've ever heard.
Protest, mate. We're sitting there doing the conga after we got mate. Honestly, it drives me to the point of where I am slowly losing love for this football club. Slowly every season. Obviously, I'll it's my other than the misses, it's the one true love. But this football, do you know the last thing I'll say? Because I know you want to move on to Arsenal and all that.
No, carry on.
Yeah.
It sums the football club up when you log on to buy tickets and you are a client. There's a client reference number. When you are a client, right, you're just a consumer. And that's all we are. The football club, everyone goes, oh, let's protest, let's get the owners out, okay? And when 60,000 don't turn up, another 60,000 will, because we've got 89,000.
Henry. That well said, because this is a thing that was said at Arsenal for a very, very long while when we weren't going well. Well, don't go, right? Well, all right, I won't go, right? Yeah, but then someone else will go, right? All right, well, spend the money and don't go. Whatever way they win. And these fans, right? There are a lot of fans out there say, and there would have been a lot of this at Tottenham yesterday, right? There will be a Spurs fan saying to you or saying to somebody else or whatever, don't go to the game, right? Okay, don't go to the game. What are you going to do then? You're going to watch it on telly? You don't watch it on telly then, right? If you're saying to me, don't go to the game, then you do not switch on your telly. I bet they do though. It's just, you cannot.
It's like a religion to us.
Of course it is. It's in your blood.
And they just take advantage of it, don't they? Like,
of course every club does, Dan. Every club does. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm absolutely... Me and Dan, we've walked out of that game yesterday, freezing cold, soaking wet, going to the game, weren't we? Like, you know what I mean? It was pissing down with rain, blah, 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 blah. We'll still be there on Wednesday. Moaning about it, going, oh, I don't want to go. But come Wednesday, we go. Come Saturday,
Look at the West Ham fans tonight. They're going to go up to London Stadium in a freezing cold. Sky Sports have already commercialised it as whoever loses is pretty much guaranteed the Tommy Tag.
El Sacico, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even El Sacico. But look, this is another thing, the very last thing. Wolves have got, you could make an 11 out of that bottom 5 that would get in Spurs' team. That's how bad the recruitment has been, and the manager.
Henry, I've got to say this. This is what does my nutting about Spurs fans. I listened to a couple of in the gym the other day, and I know that they were talking loud to get my attention and all that. Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather have Van der Ven than Saliba. I'd rather have Romero than Gabriel. I'd rather Ndoggy's the best left back in the league. You know what I mean? Like Paro's the best right back in the league. You've got the best goalkeeper in there. You do a 1 to 11.
If that's
You've
the
got to
case,
have
then why are we
7
11th?
players in there. They don't. It's not. You can't. There ain't.
I agree with that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Spurs think that there's something. You know what I mean? Get
It's
real
not just
about
being
certain
ugly.
things.
We walk around like we're fucking Real Madrid.
Exactly that, and that's what you and you're not. You know what I mean? Like Van der Ven is a better player than
Bissouma
Saliba.
is better than Rice. Now they
Yes.
want him sold. Like, it's what's happening here.
Listen,
like,
I don't know what's happened to that Bissouma, by the way, because I thought he was a good player, but
I
I'm
liked
watching him now. Since he's gone to Spurs, he is nothing.
Let's be honest. Let's just call it for what it is. He's been shit for 3 years. He was a great player at Brighton in the right system when he had a balanced midfield. He's come round to us where there's more pressure and he's just folded like I don't even know.
And I tell you what, that's a great point, Henry, and I think this has got to be related to with Fulham and people are going, "Oh, Smith Rowe's playing really well" and whatever. Like, I see a thing yesterday that made me feel. Do you know, like the Fulham players, Iwobi, Bassey, Nelson, and all that, all come out yesterday. They come out into the street, having photographs and talking to the supporters for 10, 15, 20 minutes yesterday. I could not believe what I was seeing. They come all out. There's no security around them. There's nothing around. They go back in. And everybody goes, "Oh, thanks for the photos." I had a chat with Reece. I had a chat with Alex Iwobi. Like, you know what I mean? With the Arsenal players, there's security around them. There's this, and you can't get near them. You can't get anything like that because it's a different level of play. You know what I mean? Like, now,
that's just Fulhamly, isn't it? Fulham is that sort of club.
Fulham, that sort of thing. But what I'm saying is, there's a pressure when you play at Arsenal. There's a pressure when you play at Chelsea. There's a pressure when you play at Tottenham. There's a different pressure from playing from Tottenham to there is Fulham and teams like that because of expectation. There is a massive, massive fan base at Tottenham. When you think about it, the stadium at Tottenham, Fulham couldn't fill that week in, week out. Teams like Brentford couldn't fill that in week out, week in, week out. But when you go to a club like Tottenham, when you go to there's a different pressure. You have to perform. It's not for everyone. It isn't. You know what I mean? You get these players go then and go and play well for another team and all that, like, you know, because it's less pressure. There's, you know, I don't care what anybody says about Spurs or like, you know what I mean? The minute you walk into that stadium, because of the severe size of it and all of that, there's an expectation, probably which is more expectation than it should be. And some players can handle it, some players can't. And it's the same when you go and play for Arsenal. Chelsea will have players that, you know, Mudryk, for instance, is just not hit the mustard there for whatever reason. He might go to Fulham and be outstanding. Look at William, was fantastic at Chelsea, come to Arsenal, went to Fulham and was brilliant. Yeah, you know what I mean? There is a different expectation with players. And with Spurs, there is a big expectation on these players. There's big expectations for them to do well. And some of them are not gonna be good enough. I'll tell you what, if Brendan Johnson leaves tomorrow and goes to Fulham or back to whatever, he'll be fantastic. He'll be fantastic. It's how it is. You've got to be up for it.
Look, talk about expectation before we move to Arsenal to close. Dan, Cole Palmer. I put in a title about him being a Chelsea legend potentially, and somebody in the chat come back straight away and said, Chelsea legend, Premier League legend. Mate, he's got everything in his locker to be. The kid is sensational. And I must say, like, I thought he was good from what I heard at City. I still can't believe Pep's got rid of him, by the way. I think that's an absolute madness. But that's just one of many that Pep's got rid of before, that City have got rid of, that have gone on to do well. One, you must be really happy that he's at you. But two, how important is it that he stays fit for where Chelsea want to go? Because I know people are talking about Chelsea now in a different light, rightly so. The results are proving that you're going to be there or thereabouts, I think, this come the end of the season. But if you was to lose him, do you think there's a different story? Because you've seen what we're like without Odegaard, and you see what Man City are like without Rodri. People are talking about what Liverpool would be like without Salah. I think we have to put Palmer in those bracket now. I think he's that important for Chelsea, man.
I would have said last season if we'd have lost him, it would have been a bigger loss for us because I felt like we were a team of individuals and we were just very reliant on one player to keep getting us out of trouble. And obviously last year, if we didn't have him, we could have actually been in a relegation scrap at some points. We were doing that poorly. So I think this season there was a lot of, like Maresca said very, very early on, he said, I'm going to make sure that this isn't Cole Palmer FC. I need to make sure that my other players can step up when Cole isn't available or isn't on 100%. I need to make sure the other players are good enough. And I think we've seen this season so far that players like Madueke, Pedro Neto, João Felix, Jackson, Sancho now obviously stepping up, Casado in big moments. The team as a whole are able to score goals from the majority of our attacking players. And I think they're able to sort of allow Cole Palmer to be a little bit more free and allowed to do what he wants and get the best out of him. And at the same time, we've got other players that can go and get the result. So I don't think you can have a discussion about Chelsea winning the title if Cole Palmer's not in the conversation. He has to be fit for Chelsea to be in a potential title race. But I do think Chelsea have built a really good squad that, like Neto's suspended for our next game. Madueke comes in, it's just not an issue. If Cole Palmer's not fit, Maresca's just got it set up that Nkunku comes in or João Felix comes in. It's just ready to go. And Nkunku's capable of scoring goals if he comes in at 10. João Felix is capable of creating if he comes in at 10. Yeah, they're not Cole Palmer, but they're still going to do a good enough job. I can't remember who I was saying this to the other day. I think it was to Giuseppe, the Sicilian Gooner. And I just said, you've got a issue at Arsenal where you've built a fantastic starting 11 that can compete with anyone on their day. But I think what you've done poorly with that, and you said it a lot in the summer, Dan, is there's not that second player that can come in, keep the system alive, and you guys play in exactly the same way. Where I think actually Chelsea have built a squad that can have whoever just come in and like Henry said, where Spurs have got square pegs in round holes, Chelsea have just got round pegs in round holes, and they've got 3 of them lined up ready to go. So I actually think we've built our squad really well.
I think you've got the best midfield in the league. I really do.
Have they got the best midfield in the league? Do you guys think? Like what you just saying about your depth? I think there's an argument now for saying that Chelsea, other than the centre-back department, probably have the best squad in the league at the moment.
I think the goalkeeper's an issue, as you said earlier.
They've got the goalkeeper and centre backs.
That's hilarious, by the way. That thing you said.
I mean, Jackson didn't have a great game yesterday, did he? Either, bless him. Like he was trying. But
this season, he's still bagged.
No, you need a 9. You need a 9. You need a keeper, and you need a centre half. If you went and got a goalkeeper that's levels, you went and got a centre half that's definitely your starter, and you went and got your 9 like Gyökeres or
I reckon you should get Kelleher.
Honestly,
no, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't think Kelleher is enough.
He's a fantastic goalkeeper.
I think he's a good goalkeeper, but I just don't think it's enough of a statement. I actually don't think Chelsea buy a keeper. I think they believe they've already got their replacement in Jorgensen or Mike Penders. Like I've said a few times, we spent 60 million in the summer on goalkeepers. And this scouting team, whether people know the players or not, they seem to have got it right. 9 times out of 10, the players they've scouted have either got to move somewhere else and have been performing, or they've come to Chelsea and been unreal. So I actually think, I think Jorgensen is probably a season away from being ready. I think that's probably how they view it. But with Sanchez keep making mistakes, like
he's got to be better than Sanchez, bro.
Exactly right. It's only going to be sooner that he gets in. I just think they probably feel like they haven't had a reason to drop Sanchez, but actually now, like it's evident that he just keeps making mistakes. It's on the ball and off the ball. It's a joke, mate. He's already dived before Solanke's even touched the ball.
So what you think? A ball playing centre back? It kind of
I do. I think an experienced centre back is an absolute must for me because I think we all saw and I've been saying this and I've been getting a lot of stick for it, but I always seem to get stick for my opinions on Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea are capable of winning the league because of our defensive frailties. We're talking about how bad Spurs were yesterday. We've only won that game by 1 goal. Yes, we've made mistakes, but we still shipped 3 goals to Spurs. I just don't think that's a good enough defence to go and win a Premier League title.
That's fair, Dan.
I look at Liverpool back in just before they signed Alisson and Van Dijk, and I see Chelsea in a very similar position that you go and spend the money on 2 proper players, you transform your fortunes at this club. I can just see it. That is what Chelsea need. It's whether or not we do it. I mean, me and Henry spoke the other day. We both believe Bastoni would be like the perfect fit for this team. He's the right age. He's Italian. He's everything you need in a centre back. He is. And I think that's the type of player that I would love Chelsea to go after. And look, we'd spend the money to get him. It's whether or not he'd be keen to join, I think.
Italian players aren't... It's very rare that you get a top Italian player leave Italy. The thing... if in January, hypothetically, you brought in a very good centre-back and a goalkeeper, let's say just for hypothetical debate, I would back you to go all the way to the end. I'm not saying you'd win the league, but I think that Conference League, I said this in September, is a blessing in disguise. Every other team in the top has got to constantly play, like Arsenal, for instance. Saka and Saliba will play every game if they can because of the drop-off is quite significant. You boys can afford to leave Cole Palmer out into the Conference League until February, and you'll still be... If you don't win that Conference League, it's a disgrace, by the way, because of how good you are. Like, I think you're playing Astana on Thursday, which it's a 3:30 kickoff because you're playing them in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I think it's like a 10.5-hour round, a 10.5-hour trip, or maybe like just to get there or something.
Yeah, so like look at Arsenal, for instance. They've got Monaco. If they don't beat Monaco, they might be in an uncomfortable position going to an away game. I don't know who you've got after that.
Dynamo Zagreb and Girona. But when you look at Astana and Noah and all this, like Chelsea are beating them with their C team, by the way.
Yeah.
They've got like Mark Gui up front and like Casadei and all these people, ain't they, Dan?
Yeah, we do. Dewsbury Hall, like it's flying. So yeah, look, the Conference League is a blessing in disguise. I think what the Conference League's been fantastic for Chelsea is to allow players like João Felix and Nkunku to get themselves up to a level that's good enough to scare the other players in the team that are in the same position, so that their level then improves. Like the competitive sort of squad depth that we've got now has definitely improved this Chelsea side, because players last year who were comfortable in their position were not performing to the same standard. I look at Enzo Fernandez, right? He got dropped. Henry was saying this the other day. He got dropped, and now look at him since he's come back into the team. He's like playing at a different level because he's looking at Lavia. Like, how good was Lavia yesterday? He's thinking, right, I've got to be better than him. Casado's been better than me. I've got to be better than him. They're all playing to a level above where they were last season because they're not comfortable anymore.
When you signed Lavia and Caicedo, I just thought, wow, Chelsea are... And I know last season was a nightmare. But Lavia...
Lavia's a very good player, Dan. Just injuries last season, but he's a very good player.
He's very... I don't know why he come off yesterday. I don't know if it's purely because of an injury. He didn't go down as a concussion sub, but sometimes they don't want to do that because if you go off as a concussion sub, you actually have to miss the next 7 days.
I think it's a tactical change, mate. I'll be honest. I think Lavia's passing is better than Caicedo's, but I think Caicedo gives you more reassurance. And you lent on Enzo, who then he kept him on. He's the one who scored the goal to take you in front. And bearing in mind, Caicedo picked up a yellow, on the 40th minute? 35th minute?
Well, yeah. I'm not sure if he got booked for that challenge.
That entire second half on a yellow. Well, one of them definitely got a yellow. It might have been Lavia or Fernandez. One of them definitely got a yellow. But like, we got to give props to Chelsea. Like, no,
we're playing the best football in the league at the moment.
Sorry,
are Chelsea playing the best football in the league at the moment?
Along with Liverpool, I think you've got to respect Liverpool. Yeah. But yeah, I think Chelsea are up there. I don't think that Man City and Arsenal can compete with
on an entertainment factor.
I feel like we're scoring so many goals.
Chelsea, the best and listen, one, you never know which Tottenham team is going to turn up. We can either spank you or get spanked. And Chelsea are just... I mean, you've scored, what, 38 goals in the league or something?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, and when we went to Chelsea, a draw weren't good enough.
But that's where you're at.
It's looking like a better point now, Lee, isn't it?
Well, yeah, 100%. I've said it at the time it was. You know what I mean?
But and I actually thought that about Chelsea as well. I thought it wasn't a great point for us, even though in hindsight now, it's looking back at it as like actually
away from home.
Point.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you look back at it, Arsenal were probably the better team on the day.
They were,
and you know, people were going, "Oh, you know, it's a poor point." You know what I mean? We've got to go there and win. You know what I mean? It just shows you, it's a bloody tough league. And Chelsea are flying at the moment, and we've done well to get a point there. And then we can't, you know, you look at that and go, right, if we win some, you know, but that's what football is. You know,
Can I ask
Chelsea
you Arsenal
Chelsea are going
boys-
to take some stopping because Henry, you're right in what you're saying there. Like they haven't got the midweek games that the likes of Liverpool,
Oh, it's a blessing.
City, and Arsenal have got. You know what I mean? It is a bit of an advantage, and
Well, Palmer's playing one
we
game
had
a
it
week.
for a year and We had it.
One game a week. Palmer's playing.
Yeah,
Crazy,
yeah,
isn't
yeah. So at the end of the day, you know, listen, it could be a good thing. It might not be. Like, you know, I do. Dan makes a great point there, and I think if you're going to win the league, but they can be got at, Chelsea, and that's where I feel that you know Arsenal had them at one stage, probably could have, if we'd been a bit more of a killer, could have got the result. But like you know, there is that thing in them, like sometimes things are not going to go right, and you've got to defend properly. And I you know, but listen, they're in it. They know they're in it. And you know, at this moment in time, it's with, you know, even with Liverpool, 2 new managers that are in there, riding the crest of a wave at the moment. Let's see what happens if there is a couple of difficult decisions to be made and all that. Like at the moment, it's going all right for them, and we'll see. But Chelsea, to me, are a danger. I think Chelsea now, if you look at their next 5-6 games, all winnable.
Yeah.
All winnable. Like,
Do you know what
I
was
mean?
scary for me yesterday with Chelsea, where I actually felt like, wow, we might have turned a corner here, is we went 2-0 down, and I think under Poch we might have capitulated because there was like not a lot of guidance there. The message has been drummed in now to actually just keep playing, like stay
Keep
calm,
doing what you're doing.
don't
Yeah.
lose your heads, just
Yeah.
actually stick to what we've been
I
working
think some
on.
of that was because you were playing Tottenham, Dan.
A little bit, but at the same time, because obviously that's not unnormal, is it, against Spurs to just think like they will crumble. But at the same time, you have to be able
No,
to.
you're right.
These are
you
young
right.
kids, and then they're like, keep
You have to
playing
squeeze
this
the
way,
pressure.
keep
They
playing
put the
this way.
pressure on Tottenham yesterday, Dan. They put the pressure on them.
I thought that was really
they kept
brave.
in it.
to them.
They kept it. They could have been out of it. They kept in it, got it to 2-1, and then you felt from that moment on. I didn't watch the first half. I watched the second half, but what you know, I felt, you know, once it went 2-1, Chelsea would get back in it. It was only a matter of time. He was on train and said there'd be, and some went 2-2, yeah, and then at
It
that
was
moment in
the,
time, there's only one winner. There's only one winner there. And I think that's where Chelsea are now, where they wouldn't have been last season. And that's the difference.
Mm. Well, look, let's move and close on Arsenal very quickly. Judges, me and you were there yesterday.
Yeah,
Um,
disappointing.
what did you make of the game and the team selection from Arteta, first of all? Because people are talking about that a lot today.
Listen, I'm not making out excuses. You know what I said before the game and everything. Like, I was nervous before the game. And then when I see the team sheet, I was sort of breakdancing back to the way I come. I didn't fancy us. So I really didn't like, you know what I mean? Like,
Breakdancing.
it was unbelievable. Like, you know what I mean, I see the stadium in the distance, and I was trying to hold back, like, and you know, I knew what was coming. I looked at the conditions. It didn't suit a footballing side. I know that people will laugh at you when you say that, but if you're a footballing side, you don't like one thing you don't like in football is wind. It was a wind about, like, just levels it up a little bit. No excuses. Still got to go and do the business. But I think he tinkered far too much with the defence. I said that at the time. I don't like Thomas Partey. He's a midfield player. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you put Saka at left back? People look at me, yeah, mad putting Saka at left back. Well, why are you putting Timber over there then? Who's been our bet? You said it, Dan. Like, you know, best right back. We can't be that great at right back if you feel you can put him over to the left back and bring in Thomas Partey over there. Like, a ridiculous decision. Don't understand. Get it? I get it against Liverpool when you've got no choice. I get that. You know what I mean? Like, but he had choices yesterday, and he didn't do it. The other choice is you go, right, okay, and listen, this is nothing against Jorginho. I thought Jorginho played really well yesterday. Like, he was okay, you know what I mean? But if we had not one player that could play, not one player on our left side that could kick the ball with his left foot, right? That ain't no good, Dan. You got to have balance in the side. So why don't you? All right, leave Partey out. You know, all right, you're going to play Partey at right back. Well, then play Declan Rice then, and bring in your signing Marino, who has a left foot, to just balance it up a little bit. These are all the things.
Waneri's left-footed.
or Wanyeri. These were the things that we were saying before that game went off. That was what we were saying. We were walking down from Putney Bridge down to the ground. We were saying, well, if he's doing that, why is Jorginho in there? Why is there no one on the left-hand side? Get what he's doing. If what he's doing, it's too many. We was all saying it. And I love our coaching staff and all that, but surely someone on the coaching staff could turn around to him and go, Mikel, do you think we're making too many changes at the back, too many changes down the left, not enough left-footed on the side when you're away from home? Now, I think you might be able to get away with it at home. Now, listen, Fulham never really attacked us. They sat back in there, and I think in hindsight again is a wonderful thing, Dan. But in that game there, they never really attacked us. Iwobi was playing as a second right back, and Traore was playing as a second left back. You could have actually just put on Miles Skelly, and he could have done the job. He could have done the job there. Tierney could have done. Someone said to me, I see on Twitter today, you can't play Tierney because he ain't played all season. So what's he doing on the bench? I said on Forever Arsenal today, I want Tierney's job. I can do what Tierney does. I can do it for a lot less money than him. I can train all week with Arsenal and then go and sit on the bench and warm up. I can do it. And I tell you what, I cheer him on the line as well, like, because I don't want to come on. You know what I mean? It's pathetic. If he's on the bench, he's good enough to start. He's a left back. And you're playing a midfield player, by the way, has been our best midfield player, and you're taking him out and putting him at right back. Like, too many changes. And I'm not, listen, that first 10 minutes, Dan, I don't know. That could have been the reason that we got caught out on the left-hand side. If you have a look, well, I know people are blaming Kivior, and I get that. Can someone tell me where our left back is? Because that's where the ball goes. Where's our left back? He's inverted.
Do you know what's mad as well? He's obsessed with overloading the midfield all the time.
Too much so. Not only was he doing it, he had both of them doing it. So when the ball goes into that area, have a look at it again, right? We lose. It's a
fantastic finish, though. Take nothing
it's
away
a fantastic finish. I'm not going to lie on that. But the ball is kicked up in the air by Leno. It doesn't even get to the halfway line, right? Doesn't even get to the half. Where's our midfield? It's a midfield player that should be heading that ball. If you have a look at it, it's 10 yards he comes inside into the midfield. Kivior goes with him, right? Where's their midfield winning it? Oh, our midfield holding player is playing right back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and Jorginho's 6'4", is he? No. So that's one thing. So that's all wrong there. Then the ball goes down the left back channel. We haven't got a left back. A good a Tierney or a left back just picks that off, Dan. But we don't, because we're trying to be clever. We're trying to be clever.
I don't even want to comment about the Tierney thing, because you know my thoughts on the player.
I'm not. You know, so we won't comment about it. So we get done.
It makes me sick, if I'm honest. Makes me sick that we're putting him on the bet. Even let's forget Tierney's at the club, right? Just for a second. What's the point of this Lewis Skelly? He needs to go out on loan. Because if he's the 7th choice left back and he's still not playing, he might as well go on loan and play football.
Do you know his 2 appearances against Dan?
Go on.
2 Premier League appearances he's had.
Man City was one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what the other one was?
Liverpool.
But he ain't good enough or felt like trustworthy enough to play Fulham.
Against Fulham.
So don't, you know what I mean? Like, so that is on the manager. End of. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, and I'm not making it scare. I'll stick up for Arteta as much as I can. You know what I mean? But like, that is on him. His decision making was on him. That goal cost us yesterday. It cost us because maybe we're not quite as set as we should be on that. And also, Dan, there's a great. Someone said this. I'm not going to take my own thing for this. We've got so many injured defenders at the club at this moment in time, right? Why play a midfield player in there? You've got to shore it up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you've got 2 defenders on the bench, but you decide, well, you've got no, you know, like, if you think about it, no Tomiyasu, no Shinchenko, no Gabriel, right? I think someone else must
no Calafiori.
No Calafiori. No, Tommy Asu. Did I say Tommy Asu? I don't know if I did say
It's
that.
like
You
the
know what I mean?
saying, if one door closes, another door opens. Like Lewis Skelly's got to be sitting, I can't buy a game. Or Tierney, for instance. I just, look, set pieces are fantastic, right? You are one of the best set piece sides I think the Premier League has ever seen. I think the Stoke nickname is a bit of banter, but like, it's just what we're doing here.
Ben White. Yes, sorry. Ben White as well injured. Sorry.
But you need more, what's the saying? You need more strings to your bow. Like Arsenal Football Club, in a game where Man City have drawn, Liverpool haven't played, have got to beat Fulham. But it's actually, one of my best friends is an Arsenal fan is saying, your away form since September has not been great.
No, it ain't.
You didn't beat Chelsea. Fair enough, you beat Sporting and West Ham, but you didn't beat Newcastle. You didn't beat Inter Milan.
Bournemouth.
You didn't beat Bournemouth. So you want to win a league title, you've got to. I don't like how much more. I'm not saying that you're going to go and give Arteta another £800 million, but you got a good.
No. And it's not about the money, Henry. It's about team selection and doing the right thing. Like somebody said yesterday, right? And I'm not going to mention names and whatever. He's not particularly Arteta in or Arteta out. That, you know what I mean? And he turned around and said, "There's an arrogance about him that is costing us games." He's and
About Arteta, you mean? Yeah.
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 And
yeah,
you
I
know
agree
what?
with that.
I want to go. Oh, what you on about? And he said the arrogance that he feels that he can put Thomas Partey in at right back, change Timber over to left back when he's got two left backs in the club playing on the bench. Arrogance. And I ain't gonna lie. I can't argue with that.
But Lee, do you not think Timber is a better option at left back than Kieran Tierney? Or do you think Kieran Tierney's better?
When everyone's fit.
Listen, I ain't got an argument. That me and Dan would not have an argument with that, right? Yeah. If Ben White's fit,
If you play a right back and a right back,
That's the
the
point.
right back
We
and
need
the
a
right
right back. We need
I've
a
got
right
no
Is that
problem.
what's costing you points?
Me and Dan argue over this. I think when Ben White's fit, I'd probably put Timber over to the left. I ain't got a problem with that. All right, you know what I mean? Like the guy can play anywhere.
But it's the front line. It's the Martinelli's decision making. It's Gabriel Jesus. I'm sorry, but there's a reason why he sat on the bench when City won titles. If you're relying on Gabriel Jesus to come off the bench and Martinelli's decision making, you're not going to win a league title. You've got Saka, Saliba, and Odegaard, who are absolutely world class. And I don't think anyone can argue that. But when it almost feels like when Saka's not absolutely on it, and your defence isn't keeping clear, I'm looking at Havertz looks absolutely Donald Duck. He looks like he's burnt out. The left-hand side, Martinelli, that is a schoolboy. Just time you run.
Sorry, I've got just Ridley said there. Can I just make the point here? Sorry, I just cut you there. Partey at right back and Timber at left back was not the reason we drew the game. Fulham were well organised, right? 100% agree with that. But what I'm saying is the goal cost us that, right? The goal. So we could be 0-0 and we get the set piece, we win the game 1-0. And also our right side broke down yesterday because yes, they were well organised, but if they were well organised, if someone like Timber, which with his athleticism and energy, can burst into areas where Thomas Partey was never going to go yesterday because he can't get there, is a fundamental thing why Saka and Odegaard weren't at their best yesterday.
I want to concentrate more on the attack for a minute because there's a few people, me being included, Turkish, few other people that mentioned this transfer window and got a hell of a lot of stick for it, to be fair. And I couldn't believe at the time that there were people sticking up for this bloody window, saying it was an 8 out of 10 and all this crud that I was hearing. We don't even see Sterling. I mean, I haven't seen the geezer for weeks, absolute weeks. And we were getting rid of all these black. Nelson's gone, Smith Rowe's gone, Vieira's gone, Eddie's gone. Oh, brilliant. This is going to be a massive signing coming in here. And we are relying on Jesus and Sterling. And we are relying on a 17-year-old to come on the bench now and lift us, which I've got nothing against, by the way, because I love Wanyeri, right? And I want to see ballers come through my club. But if he's not coming off the bench, we ain't getting excited at the moment. And he is the only one that lifts me because Trossard has fallen off of a cliff. Yeah. He is absolutely. I don't know what's happened to Trossard. Martinelli is regressing big time. And there is schoolboy to be offside in that position when you're looking down the bloody line. Yeah, that's all you got to do. It's your only job at that time. Before you receive the ball, you are told it's Sunday League. Make sure you're on, mate. Yeah, make sure you're on. Go on, Lee.
Right, I'm going to have you on this because I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing on Forever Arsenal today when Paul Merson says, right, you know what I mean, it's poor and all that. Like he's offside by, and that's when they've had to put lines on it. Like now, years ago, you'd get away with that, Dan. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know what you're saying, like, but when people go to schoolboy error, it's this and this is that. It's fine margins, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like if he's a yard offside, I get that. But you know what I mean? It's that much offside, Dan. It's not like, you know. Let's be honest. If there's no VAR, it's a goal. No one's. Paul Merson would have been in that position on many occasions and got away with it. I know what you're saying. He shouldn't be offside, but with VAR now, like you know what I mean, it's not a schoolboy. I know what you're saying. Come on, you know what I mean. Like it is a poor.
All right, cool. Let's tell you what. Let's not because I got more to discuss. Let's not even argue about Nat's whiskers, right? That's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's forget. Let's pretend that goal doesn't even exist. This Saka thing doesn't exist because people are saying it could have on. It could have done. Let's take that whole scenario out of it. Our attack was woeful.
Yes,
and Havertz up top. I'm sorry, man. I know you're a fan, but I need to see better than this. I can't have Kai Havertz as my number one. I'm more than happy to have Kai Havertz in the squad. And in fact, I think he'd be an excellent sub. And sometimes I would have him starting. But there is no way that we should be 5 years into a project and our attack be Martinelli, Trossard, Sterling, Saka, Havertz and Jesus. Because let's just be real. When you've had that much money spent on this club and Brighton are throwing out more attack-minded players than you with Mitoma, even Minter, bloody what's his name up top. Danny Welbeck's still scoring goals, by the way. João Pedro. You got who did you said earlier, Henry, that I agreed with. Even Cunha, that was his name. I think you.
Would you take Visa or Buemo?
Buemo and Visa, another one at Brentford.
You know they've scored 31 goals.
Yeah, they're flying.
This is a madness. And I'm seeing Brentford and Bournemouth and even Forest, even Chris Wood, all these guys scoring goals. And I'm not seeing my attack scoring goals. And if Saka or Henry's right, by the way, I actually thought Saka tried hard yesterday. I didn't think much was coming off for him, bless him. But I thought he tried hard till the end. Ødegaard was just having an off day. That means we don't score goals when them two are off of it. That is not good enough, man. You cannot rely on it. Two players. And when they do not have a good game, Arsenal do not score goals. So I'm looking at other teams around me thinking maybe it might, surely it's not just an Arsenal thing. It must be all of the other teams. And I'm seeing Chelsea banging in goals, Liverpool banging in goals. I'm seeing Brighton banging in goals, Forest banging in goals, Brentford banging in goals. Even Spurs are scoring. Let's be real, they're conceding, but they're scoring. And I'm not. What is going on here? And, you know, look, a couple of weeks ago, I was laughing when people were calling us Stoke because we were putting 5s and 6s past teams. Now, all of a sudden, we've gone back to this when they don't have good games, we just fling balls into boxes and we got all of our crowd singing set piece, allay, allay, allay. I didn't wait 5 years and spend 800 million to start singing set piece, allay, allay, allay. What is going on here? Like, this is the problem I've got. Negative you are. So it's all over the top, all over the top. This ain't over the top, mate, because I can guarantee you on this channel now, and please click me up, we are not winning the Premier League. We are not. And it's not because we're this many points behind Liverpool and we're this now behind Chelsea and City are dropping over there. I don't give a fuck. It is Arsenal that's our crap at the moment. We are not consistent. We cannot go on a run of games. We concede way too many goals to a team that should be having the best defence in the league, apparently, and we do not score enough goals. And that is just.
Can I ask you something?
That's not over the top. That's not silly. That's not opinion. That is fact right now that we cannot go on 5 or 6 games winning. We are conceding goals and we are not scoring them. You are not going to win anything like that unless there's a dramatic change. And unless we buy someone in January that changes us, which we have to do now, by the way, I am not going to be backing Arsenal to win the Premier League. I didn't think we would anyway, but that was the transfer window.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Someone just said in the chat as well, it's the same mistakes being made. It's not just defensively. Open goals still being missed. Thomas Partey missing an open goal.
Crazy.
Not creating enough chances for our centre forward yesterday. Didn't get one chance. If you have a look at it yesterday, I think Thomas Partey with that one there.
The problem is, Lee, though, because he got the assist for Saliba's goal, it kind of papers over the cracks.
He should have scored it. He should have bloody put it in.
Oh,
Yeah,
listen, it's a woeful header. It's exactly, Dan. I did say that today. You know what I mean? I actually thought he'd scored when the game's gone. I said, what are they going for? I said, what are they doing? I actually make myself look silly at times. I said, what are they going to VAR for? He's headed it in from a corner. They said, no,
I thought Havertz had scored.
I said, well, what do you mean he's tapped it in? Why? Like, you know what I mean? He's got a free header from open goal. He said, no. You know, so when I look back on it, it's a horrendous header. Other than that, I think Declan Rice had one where he nearly got on the end of it. But that should be our centre forward on the end of those sort of things. And I'm right with you, Dan. Like, you know what I mean? We ain't going to win the league because we haven't got those things right. And if Arsenal go and buy someone in January, it may change a little bit, like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, there's too many games where it's, you know, Arsenal win 3 or 4 and then draw one. They might now go on and win the next 3 or 4. But, you know, like Crystal Palace or Brighton coming away from home, there's always that thing there, like, you know what I mean? Like,
but Lee and Dan, what's happened? Like, why have you last season, the season before, you were this close to getting to pip in City to win the league, right? What's happened? Why has the football regressed so much?
I've got opinions.
I don't think it's regressed.
I've got opinions as well.
I don't think it's regressed. I think what's happened, Dan, is that teams have sussed us out a little bit.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like Fulham yesterday. I spoke to Harry, you know, Talk Sports. Harry, he's a Fulham season ticket holder, like great guy. Turned around yesterday and said to me, "We have not played like that against anybody this season at home until you got Manchester United have not played like that because they know if you play a low block against Arsenal, if you play open, expansive football with Arsenal, if you play that game like Chelsea Spurs did yesterday, Arsenal will score goals. Chelsea never played like that against us, Dan. They was never really open against us. They defended, set and try in the block and try to hit us on the counter attack. Teams have sussed Arsenal out. Last season, when you go into that run and everything like that, what was different between that run and the beginning of the season? I'll tell you, like, you know, up until the break, the difference was that we played Havertz in midfield and then we played him up front and we went on that run. Though this season we have been sussed out. Teams have watched us, and you have to do something different. That's my opinion.
I'll tell you where I can add on that. As much as I agree with what Lee's saying in terms of people that suss us out, I think it's quite easy to suss us out, by the way. Put 2 people on Saka and don't make sure you defend our set pieces, then you might get something out of the game, because that's what Fulham did yesterday, right? The other thing is we've just stood still while everyone else has moved forwards, I think. I look at what Chelsea have done moving forward. I think Liverpool have moved forwards. I think that there's other clubs that people aren't even talking about, and I don't think they're in a title race before you start calling me, but I think Brighton and Forest and all these teams have definitely moved forward. I look at what Arsenal have done, and we've stood still, if not gone a little bit backwards. And the other thing I'll say is our people cannot look at this team right now and go, God, I tell you what, Arsenal looks stronger than last year, don't they? That business they did in the summer has really moved them forward, because Calafiori ain't improved us and he's injured. Marino ain't improved us and he don't start. Sterling, I mean, please someone explain to me where he's gone. Is he a cardboard cutout on the bench now? I mean, this guy
He's
don't
another one.
play.
You can have his job. You can have his job, Dan.
And another one we love his job for. I mean, I definitely love his job. He's got 2 bloody clubs paying for him. It's unbelievable, this lad.
Yeah. What did he say? You're about to see the best of me.
You're about to see the best of me.
He should be getting more game time. I'm
look,
sorry, but
I don't disagree, Henry, but I don't understand why we bought this geezer when Sancho was allowed to go to Chelsea. It is an absolute madness that we are. And look, I've got to say this as well, by the way. I've got to say this, and I put this on Twitter earlier. I don't understand why people are losing their minds about it. When you buy a midfielder for £105 million that is in the mould of a Michael Carrick or a Rodri, you might not think they're as good as those, that's fine. Why do you want to turn him into a Steven Gerrard? Can someone please explain to me why Declan Rice is being asked? And yesterday he played back in the 6. I thought he was better. Funny enough, right? Why we got a Declan Rice playing in this fucking position every fucking week. I do not fucking get it at all. He's got a right foot and he's been asked to play on the left-hand side of an 8. I do not get why we are wasting this guy who was our player of the season last year in a 6, and he moved to the 8 for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 games. Had 3 good games against West Ham, Sheffield United and Burnley. Yeah, when we scored 5 or 6 past them. Everyone said, he's an 8, he's a Gerrard, get him in the Lampard position, going mental, yeah, and we scored 5 or 6 goals. Now that's his position. He's awkward there. He don't look comfortable there. He's got a right foot. There's no left foot pass. All of our left-hand side have got right foots now, by the way. Every single one of them. After Mikel Arteta saying we needed a left-footed, left-sided defender all the time. We've got Timber who's right-footed. Martinelli's right-footed. Trossard's right-footed. Bloody Declan Rice is right. All of them are right-footed other than Gabriel. He's the only one we've got with a left foot over there. Why is Declan Rice playing this position? I do not understand. What we've got is we've gone £100 million. Where can we play this lad now? Bloody hell, Partey's better in the 6 than him. Christ, he's going to have to play here then. We just have to put him here. And he's not performing.
The delivery for his corners recently have been out of this world. But he overhit 3. He overhit 3 in that game when I'm thinking, that's crunch time. That's got to be on the money. But I don't think it's right to say he didn't win the game because of Declan Rice's free hit.
I thought Declan was all right yesterday. I like him in that role. I think he can play both. And me and Dan have arguments on this, but I think that he can play both. And at the end of the day, but I'm going to agree with Dan here. If you're taking Thomas Partey out of there, as good as Jorginho is and whatever, and I like Jorginho as a player, then Declan Rice has to come in there and Mourinho has to go into the left side. It's not rocket science. Why he didn't do that is down
have you seen your run of games coming up? Your next 8 games, other than Man United and Brentford away, if you don't win, I'll be honest, Brentford away at the moment is probably the hardest ground to go to because they've got 1 point away from home, but they've won every home game. If you don't beat Palace in the cup and in the league, and you don't beat Everton, like.
Well, so they're all at home, them games, and you've got to win them.
There's no reason why you shouldn't be winning those games as well. You're still a good enough side to win.
Come on, listen,
Brentford they didn't beat Fulham last year, did they?
100%.
Brentford were a tough team last season.
Brentford's a tough game.
Let's see if Brentford play like they have been doing. Like I don't think that they will. They won't. If they go toe to toe, I'd love to see it. It'd be a great game of football. They won't.
It's just going to be a battle of set pieces, isn't it? That
yeah, they're just going to sit back and counter. Arsenal have the ball.
Crystal Palace will as well.
Weiser and Buemo, and that's it.
What do you need in January then, Lee? Dan?
We need a left-sided player and a centre forward.
Right.
What's this Martin like? Martinelli had that season where he scored 15 league goals, right, with Odegaard and Saka. In your first year, you challenged for a title. Since that season, which was 2 years ago, I'm going to be brutally honest here. I think you need a new left wing is an understatement. I think Trossard and Martinelli are both so inconsistent. 1 minute Trossard bags goals, the next minute Martinelli does, and neither of them can get a consistent run of games. But
sorry, Henry, I've just got to cut you off there. Like, I haven't slagged the Arsenal off. Like, I've had my 2 complimentary tickets for Wednesday. Thank you very much. Thank you. Carry on.
But I think Martinelli. I just think you need that goal is so to be offside there when you're 40 yards from the penalty area.
Yeah, it shouldn't be offside.
That's piss poor. That's the sort of stuff I expect Timo Werner to do, or the sort of stuff I expect bloody a West Ham player to do. But you're supposed to be challenging for a title. Fulham put your number, by the way. They drew you at the Emirates and beat you last season.
As my good Aussie mate said, Paul yesterday, like he had 8 of them yesterday, right? And he didn't put one crossing. The one he was offside and he got on the money, like, you know what I mean? You can't write a book about it, can you?
Moving the ball left to right as he's running down the side. You need players that take the only one that will take their man on.
You always think it's hard for me and Lee because obviously we're emotional about it, passionate about it and stuff. Do you boys think Arteta's got a problem with these bloody forward players though? Because look, I can't say he ain't developed Saka and he ain't done well with Odegaard. I'm starting to struggle after that though, because some of the ones we got rid of, I thought William was a waste of time. And obviously, we've got Trossard and Martinelli issues now. We had Pepe issues. We have Aubameyang issues. We had Lacazette issues. Jesus issues. What's going on with these strikers that you find?
Yeah, I actually don't think you were wrong in any of the players you got rid of. I think all the players that you got rid of, actually, you could find a valid reason to move them on. I just think it's the level of replacement that's come in has been questionable for me. I think there's been too much reliance on players that are either not quite out and out nines to be nines, or expectancy on players to keep outperforming their actual ability. Like, it's obvious now that Martinelli season where he was fantastic is a level above where he's actually at. He was obviously hitting a real purple patch for quite some time. Yeah. Havertz, obviously, really, really good form last season. But we do know, as a Premier League fan base, there's inconsistencies to his game. Everyone saw that at Chelsea. That's why Arsenal fans questioned the £60 million fee. That's why Arsenal fans were sort of wondering where he's going to play, because everyone knew he wasn't an out-and-out 9. Is he a centre mid? Is he a cam? Is he a 10? And then I think you look at a player like Saka, who's obviously come through and has been such a level above probably the other two. You're probably looking at it going, why have we not got players that are on a similar level to Saka? Because if we did, we'd have the best attack in the league probably. I just think your recruitment hasn't quite been good enough. What else? I look at Calafiori's had a lot of injuries this season. Marino is a player that I think you've already kind of got. Like, if you play Rice in that left-sided 8, you probably don't need him. You've got Partey, you've got Jorginho, you've got Odegaard. You probably should have had another player that fits the Odegaard role. And then I think actually in depth in midfield, you would have been all right. And you could have put the Marino money and the Calafiori money probably towards a striker or a left wing that are capable of putting up some serious numbers. And then I think we're having different conversations this season, because last year, your problem wasn't that you didn't have Calafiori and your problem wasn't that you didn't have Marino. It was probably just your defense was quality. It didn't need, you're trying to fix something actually that wasn't broken. Centre midfield was probably fine. You were moving on Smith Rowe. You probably needed a replacement for him. And then I think going forward, it was obvious to see that Martinelli hadn't done enough, and Havertz was scoring goals, but he wasn't that killer out-and-out 9. And I just think that's where Arsenal have gone wrong for me, is that the recruitment in terms of the attackers just hasn't been good enough. And like Dan said, has Arteta improved enough of them? Well, it's difficult to see now whether or not he's improved like Martinelli, because he's not exactly got better in recent seasons.
Got January to sort it out.
You've got to be busy in it, Lee, though, haven't you? You've got
100%. They have. They've got to be busy on it. Like, you know, they've got to be like, you know.
Because if I was an Arsenal fan, obviously I would be scratching my head as to how I would now feel that two teams have probably overtaken us, and when Manchester City have fallen off like they have, I'd be sat there like, this should be us. We were so ready last
to push on,
because if City had fallen off like this last season, you would have won the Prem. Arsenal were that good last year. I thought Arsenal were brilliant last year. I look at the football now and I just don't see. I know you're saying teams have sussed you out. I think Fulham, Marco Silva has sussed out Arteta, whatever it is. Last season, like Henry said, they got good results against you. This season, they've proven it again. I actually don't think Arsenal have progressed this season, bar set pieces, at all.
I think at the end of the day, you have to put a bit of meat on the bone. They've had lots of injuries at the back. They haven't had the same back four. I think it's 9. We've had to change the back four, I think 9 or 10 times out of 15 games, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like through injuries, we've had to change that. So you haven't had the stability at the back. The one place where we have had the stability, apart from Saka, has been up front. You know what I mean? I think Havertz has been available most games. Martinelli and Trossard have been available for most games. Odegaard hasn't, so I think that's been a bit of a problem. I think with Odegaard, if I'll be really honest, if we've all played football, the first 3 or 4 games, you always come back on a high, and then there's that little where you've not played a little bit, and that's what's caught up on him a little bit. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him Wednesday night. If I'll be honest, I want him to be given a bit of a break. And I think that hasn't helped. But last season we was basically having the same team all the time. So there is that to it. Like, but listen, I'm going to say it now. You know, I mean, I might lose my meal on Wednesday when I say this. I think Mikel was part of the problem this time. There's me meal gone. You know what I mean? Like,
But I think if you sat in a room with Mikel and spoke to him, he would probably admit to that as well, though.
I think he would. I think he's made mistakes. I think he's cost us points this season. I think he cost us points at Newcastle with team selection. I think team selection this time has.
He's just overthinking it.
Yeah, I do.
He is an overthinker, mate.
Yeah,
massive
I do think
overthinker.
You're just keeping it simple and playing what you know, right? That's in the right position.
But Henry, he was an overthinker the season before last, by the way. I still think the 22-23 season where we were scintillating, I thought we were playing much better than we were last year, in my opinion. That was unbelievable. No, Granit Xhaka as well was a big part of that. A player that I was calling out. Granit Xhaka, I had nothing wrong with him leaving, but I wanted to replace him with someone. We still haven't replaced him. We haven't replaced him at all. And I don't think we are in a position where some of the players are in that style. I think the style of play has completely changed to where we are. And I think Dan's right. We are apart from our set pieces, which now look good. That is all we've got at the moment in games. And I'm thinking.
Then also players are not performing at the level that they were for whatever reason. You can blame managers, you can blame the Euros and all that. Like Havertz has not been at the level that he was last season. Odegaard because of injury,
But Lee, if you look at Odegaard, I think like you said, has probably just had that little buzz you get from returning, and now he's a little bit fatigued. And I think actually just manage him correctly here, and he'll be fine. Someone like Havertz, it's not an anomaly, is it, that he's. Actually, if you look at Havertz's Premier League career, last season's form was the anomaly here. He actually, every other season, has not been at that level.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? It's the same with Martinelli. If you look at Martinelli, that one season where he's fantastic actually is the anomaly. He's never been that good again. So
that's where you admire Saka. That's what
Saka's the only one. Yeah.
That's it, right?
Saka keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. I agree.
That proves his level, doesn't it? To be that consistent over that period of time shows how good Saka is.
I think Trossard's been atrocious this year compared to last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really has. Yeah, because we do need to close, because otherwise we'll be here forever. But I do just want to close on this question, because it keeps getting spoken about, and I don't like asking it because people just shout down my throat when I say it. If Arne Slot and Maresca are in their first year and they finish above a manager who's been here for 5 years and spent the money that he has, is it out of order to say that Arteta has massively underachieved, or is it just no, Maresca's brilliant and better than Arteta, and Slot's better than Arteta, and they spent 1.5 million, and Klopp's had a good squad, so it was impossible for Arteta to finish above them? Because I just keep hearing every season, Pep's too good. Now Slot's too good. Yeah. Now Maresca spent 1.5. When are these going to keep? When are we going to actually go and go, do you know what? I know Arsenal fans don't want to hear it, but this guy, he might just be the nearly there man, and Arsenal might have to get rid of him, and they might actually win something. They could go down. They could finish 5th, but they could one day get a manager in 3 managers' time, 5 managers' time, that actually might win them something. And I don't know why people don't want to even try that. It's like, no, this guy's here 10 years. We're not replacing him because there's no one better, and he will get it right eventually. Because it feels to me like we're putting this guy's CV ahead of my football club, and I don't like that.
Can I be honest with you, Dan? I feel like if Arsenal fans will be prepared to take a gamble knowing that it could go backwards, but it could also go forwards, then I think that you're in the minority if you're thinking like that. If Arne Slot wins the league this year, though, I'll be honest, major questions have got to be asked, because don't get me wrong, Liverpool were up there until the last 5-10 games of the season last year, right? But for a manager to come in and have no signings, they got Georgi Mamardashvili, who's going to be at Valencia, and I'm not counting Federico Chiesa because he's played like 120 Premier League minutes. For a manager to come in and take over Jurgen Klopp's, that's a big, you're talking like, I don't want to say it's Liverpool's Ferguson, but it kind of is Liverpool's Ferguson in the modern day era, because he was there 8-9 years. For him to come in and win and potentially win the league over Arteta, looking at how good you've been the last 3 years, and people are always going to talk about the money. Major question marks have got to go his way. But if Maresca does it as well, if he finishes above Arteta, and you're now thinking, yes, Chelsea spent £1 billion, but when you spend £1 billion, becomes £1 billion worth of pressure on the football club. That he's got all these different egos he's got to look after. If they both finish above him, looking at how far City have dropped off, then it might be time for you boys to look at someone else.
I think
Like,
it's the football, Henry.
I think Alonso would be the perfect replacement. I think he's the one to look at and go, similar play style, but he beat Bayern Munich to a league title. He won a cup. He nearly did an unbeaten treble. I'm not saying Arteta's a bad... Arteta could go and get Victor Gyökeres in the summer and Arsenal go and win the league. Who knows? But right now,
I think it puts pressure on him, Henry. Puts massive pressure on him. I really do. I'm not in that boat at this moment in time. I'm not down that road that if them two win it, it's an embarrassment and all that. Liverpool were a very, very good team last season and still got world-class players in areas that we haven't.
But Chelsea weren't.
No, Chelsea weren't. I still say when we played Chelsea the other week, I felt that we was the better team. So, but over the course of the season at this moment in time, he's managing Chelsea very, very well at this moment in time. I think there's the end of the day. I think if Arsenal carry on the route that they're going, and I'm not into this thing when people turn around and say, "Oh, who are you going to get?" and all that. There's always someone out there, right? There's always
no one would have said Slot or Morenza for Liverpool and Chelsea. No one would have said that.
No,
and the thing is, we're not saying that Slot and Maresca are going to go do trebles and start winning 10 trophies, by the way. I'm just saying that if they...
there's a conversation, Dan, isn't there? There's got to be pressure put on if it's the case.
Do you know what I will say, though? When you listen, I know it's early days, and ultimately Arteta's had a real purple patch at Arsenal as well, and everyone was behind him and backing him. But when I listen to Arne Slot and Maresca speak, they speak in a way that just comes across so much better than I believe Arteta has done for a while now. And I just get the feeling, right, that we could sit here for the next 5 years and have this same discussion where Arsenal are competitive, but with Arteta in charge, you never quite cross the line. That's just how I feel, because I think if Arteta was going to be the man to do it, it would be happening in front of your eyes right now. You'd be sat here top of the league, because he just wouldn't let the opportunity slip. No matter what happened with injuries, he wouldn't have let the squad building get away from him in the summer. He would have turned around and said, we do not get to the end of this summer transfer window without these replacements. If you want to win the league and you're backing me and you're going to spend money on a £40 million left back who can't stay fit, you don't not get me another striker. You don't not get me a goal-scoring winger. You don't give me Raheem Sterling. And that's what I mean. I just think the real winners turn around and say they're just strong enough to say that's not happening. And I just think it would be obvious for me that Arteta would be good enough if he was top of the league right now. And he just isn't. He's actually finally got his window of opportunity to strike, and he's not. And that just tells me that I actually think he isn't going to be the man going forward. I think he's done a fantastic job for Arsenal, because you have to look at where you've got to and where the conversations you've been in against one of the best Premier League teams we've ever seen. Arsenal have been the team that have been pushing them. And I just think maybe
probably
that's
the best team, to be fair. 4 league titles on the bounce.
That's what I'm saying. That City team is so good, and Arteta had you that close. Listen, and if Arteta had you at that level this season, you'd win the league.
I'm not, I don't know who you are, but 3 times in a row we've thrown away the league. We ain't thrown away the league this year. You know what I mean? Like, last year, did everybody else throw it away then? Like, you know what I mean? God, we can't win, can you? If you go deep into the league, you throw it away. If you don't challenge, you don't throw it away. Like, they ain't thrown away the league this year. I don't think they've been good enough. There's a difference. You don't throw it away. You know what I mean? Well, Arsenal have thrown away the league this year. They've not been good enough. And the manager hasn't been good enough this season. You know what I mean? Like, it's all right when you're picking your best 11 every week. We can all do that. You know what I mean? And you're getting no injuries and all that. It's when there's things go against you and you've got to make up solutions. And like, solutions yesterday were there for the manager to get right, and he didn't. That's down to him. You know, Arsenal lost that game yesterday because we weren't good enough. Didn't win the game yesterday because we wasn't good enough. We wasn't good enough up front. We wasn't good enough defensively. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? To me, that game yesterday, I don't know how you feel, Dan, but that's on Arteta yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
It's on Arteta, and it's not been the first time we've said that this season. So, yes.
Managers can make mistakes, Lee. Managers can make mistakes and rectify them. That's how you know a good manager, isn't it? They make a mistake, they learn from it, they move on, They bettered the team
yeah, I
for
agree,
that
Dan.
reason.
But I've seen too many. Listen. You don't win a game of football and the league playing 45 minutes a game. You have to play 1 to 90. It's the more than one occasion I've seen us come out in the first half playing walking football, walking slow. And what was the difference? What was the difference, Mikel, between Wednesday and first half and second? We moved it quicker. We pushed around the ball quicker. We made things quicker. We've done this better. So why go out 4 days later and do exactly the same thing at Fulham on the manager? The second half, we come out, we knocked the ball about a lot quicker and we was much on it. Like, I'm getting fed up with it. You know what I mean? Same things keep happening. And yes, someone says Arteta's not learning. He's not learning. So when come the end of the season, if Arsenal are short of it, it's got to be questions. Got to be questions on what we're doing. And
if
ain't
there
right
ain't,
at this moment in time.
if there ain't, I'm coming for the ownership. I'm sorry, I keep bringing it up, but I'm coming for them.
Coming for all of them, Dan.
Yeah,
coming for all of them.
Have you another thing? Did you know the turning point was for me when Edu left? That kitchen, what's the saying? Too many chefs or whatever it is. Something's not right up in the hierarchy of Arsenal for your director of football to come out in the summer and say, you Arsenal fans are going to be excited, right? 3 months down the line, he quits.
He's gone. Yeah, something happened.
So either he's gone, he's either gone to the hierarchy. We need 2 or 3 top players, a number 9, a left winger, and maybe one more defender that can play both on the left and the right to be where City are. And they've either given him the elbow and said, look, we've already given you 800 million quid, you know, or he's pointed out a couple of things to Arteta and said, we need to change a few things like this, the way we're playing, or that they're saying it right, because your football the last 2 years looks, and I understand managers need to have a pragmatic approach. They need a different play style. They need to know a plan A, a plan B, and in Maresca's case, plan D, E, F, G. But the drop-off in your performances, like it, I don't want to say you're only going to score from a set piece, but I said it earlier. You need more strings to your bow. You got world-class talent on the pitch.
I've got nothing wrong with set piece goals. They're part of the game. But if that's your only style and you're relying on it, there's a problem, man. We've got to score from open play. And I saw something that James Bench put out yesterday that said that we are like near the bottom when it comes to open play goals and our XG and all this crap. I hate all that. And then I got a gal last night that said that someone had put out, we won on the field tilt and we got the XG of the most. And I thought, I am sick and tired of these absolute. I don't get any of this crap.
I think field tilt is, you know, when it shows.
Is it momentum?
Yeah, you know when it has the arrows of where you've had the play and what area of the field you've had it in. I think that's what it means. So you basically
if someone asked me yesterday about the field tilt, I would have said Arsenal won, Fulham won, because that's all I give a fuck about. I don't give a damn about all this crap. Isn't it? I hate it all, man.
That's all that matters at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, people get into the stats and look at them and everything like that, but you can get too obsessed with them sometimes. And I think that's what these managers do. And they overcomplicate things and they actually just forget about the basics. Like Lee said, like how important it is that these players are playing at a tempo that can win them a game of football and actually turn up and move the ball quicker and be faster in their movements and sharper. It's just absolutely ridiculous that things like that get overlooked now for things like field tilt, which is where you're having the ball in an area of the pitch. It don't matter. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
And this is what we dominated the game. Keep hearing our manager. We dominated the game, deserved to win. We dominated the game, deserved to win. We dominated the game. Every time we do not win, he comes out and says the same thing. We dominated the game. We deserve to win. So he doesn't want anything. He never comes out and he says, do you know what? We've got to sort our attack out because we weren't good enough. We've got great art set pieces. We've got to sort out our open play. I'd have so much respect for him. I go, bloody hell, at least he's seeing where the issues are. It's like, I don't want to change anything because we were the better team. We should have won an offside goal by Nats Whisker. It's fine. We'll be all right next week. We lost 5 games and drew 5 last season. Weren't good enough. Already lost. Already drew 5 already. And we've lost 2. So that means if we lose only 3 more games the whole of this season, we still only got the points that we got last year. So
Dan, it could be worse, mate. You could have 7 defeats.
Mate, yeah, this is a thing. Like, people say to me, because like we're right up there with Chelsea. We shouldn't be up there with Chelsea. We should be fucking miles ahead of Chelsea. We were laughing at them last year, or I was. We shouldn't be now. We're doing all right. We're near Chelsea. They spent $1 billion, but
The
oh,
fact
that's
of
the
the matter
thing,
is, though,
Dan, is-
like
Oh.
Liverpool have lost 1 game, right? And Arsenal have lost 2. Right, Chelsea have lost 2. It's not the draw. It's not the defeats.
draws that kill
It's
you.
the
It's
draws
draws.
that kill
Yeah.
you. You know
which
what I
is
mean?
what
Like,
we
it's
said
the
in the
draws that
summer
kill
about
you.
Arsenal.
I'd
We
love
said
to have
that in
some
the
draws,
summer.
by the way, lads. If you've got any going from IKEA or anything, amount of defeats we've had, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
Harry,
know,
you're better off winning and losing and then winning again,
Yeah,
like than you are drawing.
Yeah, I know. It's you can draw 2 games and like it's
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 worse
great
than
that
winning
you
and
ain't
losing one. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
you've got
it
to win
is,
your
and
games. And
I don't want that.
that's it.
I take draws as losses now in a title race.
Yeah.
If you can have a top 4, might be a different story because you take any point you
100%.
can.
If you, Dan, that is it. If you want to get top 4, you can afford to draw at Fulham. You can afford to draw at certain places. If you want to win the league, you've got to win those games. End of. That's a fantastic point.
Yeah, well, listen, let's leave it there then because otherwise we'll be on it for another hour ranting. Everyone's unhappy apart from Dan today, it seems. So big up to you, mate. Big up to Roms earlier for jumping on as well. Make sure you go follow BDB Dan on all socials. Make sure you go and follow Henry Talks Football on all socials and all YouTube as well. And of course, make sure you hit like and subscribe on this one. Look, people. It's been a bit of a miserable weekend as far as we're concerned. And yesterday, I felt like crap. The weather was crap. The football was crap. So I'm hoping for a better few days. That's for sure. Football every few days at the moment. I think me and Dan were saying the other day, weren't we, that until New Year's Eve, I think there's only 2 days between now and New Year's Eve where there's not a football game on, which is mad. So if you like football, you're in for a treat, people.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
There we go, man. It is. And I do love the Christmas time. So listen, big up to all of you. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. You're going to be redirected to Saeed at the moment, who's live. So please go and show him some love. Go spam in the chat that Dan Potts and Lee Judges have sent you over here. So make sure you do that, people. And we'll see you next time. Big up.